Welcome here. Welcome to the Rudder room. I'm very happy to welcome you today after 2 days at FOSDEM, and we made a talk out there. There is, from the beginning, we are here at the Config Management Camp because we're kind of founder also of the Configuration Management Camp with the other team, with CfgMgmtCamp, with Puppet people from the others, also from Benelux guys. So we're always happy to come there each year. And for who don't know, this year it's the first time that we make an introduction of Rudder for everyone. So maybe it's a time to make an update for people who know also us from a long time ago. So welcome. All right. So Rudder, I begin to talk about you about the context for Rudder thing. Rudder, of course, is a configuration management software, and we have to remember sometimes what the purpose of a configuration management tool is. And so it basically is about consistency of a product. So for us, it's IT. So consistency of IT, but in time, during the lifetime of your IT. And sometimes it's forget. Why? Because we live in a continuous world, sort of. So we continuously grow. There is always new demand, new servers, new applications. Of course, now we have an availability, right, 24 hours per 7 every time. That was not the case 10 years ago or something like that, only on critical systems. And of course, we have continuous threat because when we just go away from our desk, there is even more risks for our IT. So basically, people who do configuration management sometimes forget that it's not only automation. Because of this continuous approach, it needs to be very fast. And so automation is the first step, just to win some time, to avoid some tasks that are not very good and very interesting to do. This is a very good thing to do, but it's not sufficient. Why? Because what about our consistency? It doesn't avoid any burning stuff, because when you automate, when you do a mistake on one machine, in fact, we are doing this on 100, 1,000 machines. So it's even more impactful than before. So we even know we really need more deeply consistent thing and to be sure about what we are applying and what were applied in the automation. If we remember, now there is few years now that we are talking about DevOps things, and nowadays it's more about DevSecOps things because there is a lot of security guys that want to come in this. But basically we are talking about the same thing. It's just making teams working together and making a trustable, reliable IT, but also a better time to market for application, because I said it's continuous growth, continuous availability, so we need to go fast. Fast deployment and others. So we can say that in the dev stack with continuous integration and continuous deployment. So for us, one of our basic motto is continuous configuration because of that. So we've got a continuous approach, but we do not forget that the automation only is not sufficient. We need to measurements. We need to measure, to have factual measurements in order to see where we are going to. If what we are automating is going on the good way or in the bad way. We cannot know that just by making correlations without any good measurements and internal measurements. This is why we talking about observability a lot from the last few weeks. What are the problems today that we can face too? So not only sysadmins guys, not only experts, but maybe IT managers, maybe developers, maybe business owners and others. It's very global. And this is the major problematic that we can face too, and when Rudder can help a lot on this subject. So basically after, at the FOSDEM, the opening of the FOSDEM, it was 10 years with Puppet and now what? And so there is a lot of time that now configuration management is helping IT guys. And so now we can have some feedbacks on it. And one of the first feedback that we can face to is that we have a guru team, such as configuration management tool are oftenly dev as code, infra as code. So we need some dev skills, and we have to be very aware, very sharp on what we're doing, and all our team needs to be. And so sometimes you're only, because there is only 1, 2, or 3 guys that have the real knowledge about what they do with this tool. Sometimes it's even a spot, because there is some of organizations that only have 1 or 2 sysadmins and making this with any tool. And when they leave, there is no knowledge about that, because sometimes there is no documentation and others. So this is a big problem that we are trying to solve. Also, after making automation and configuration management for an automation purpose, there is no impact or real impact on the reduction of the incidents. Why? Because we don't have the visibility of what we're doing. So we can test, we can make some tests, but it's only tests. So it's after what happening something, and maybe you are not finding the good thing that you are observing. And so sometimes you can make few hours, few days, few weeks before noticing any change that you didn't want. So sometimes automation and configuration management doesn't ensure a proper consistency. It was more consistent before putting configuration management in your IT, so it could be a problem. Also, you begin on the first project, because a lot of teams begin on the first part of their IT because they're making steps after step. And after they're aware about, oh wow, I cannot do it on this part of the IT on the other. Why? Because sometimes the tool is not available on Windows, for example, or maybe it's not available on this network because it's a network that we cannot connect directly, or there is no interconnection, and there is a lot of things that can come through this problem. And more recently, we can see that there is a lot of audit issues, that there is a lot of security response, a lot of security concerns about the IT and the managers. And it's very sad that a tool like a configuration management tool that is very deep inside the system and very transversal, so it's used on all your systems, sometimes cannot help as it could be for auditing your IT systems. For example, for cross-security auditing, or maybe to stick to a norm like CIS and others. So it should be, you don't have to use another tool for doing that, because you already have the information in your configuration management, normally. So this is why we have Rudder, and why we start developing Rudder. There is now 8 years ago, so it's 6 years old. The project is coming out from 2012 exactly. The company was founded in 2010. We're French, so European, so we are the first and only solution, European solution. Sometimes it could help. And basically, we all came from critical systems as sysadmin, as project manager. So we were aware about that, and this is why we made Rudder come true. This is, I think you already know where you can put configuration management tool, but sometimes it's always useful to just remember that there is limitations, and sometimes there is also some edging part with the application systems or with the provisioning systems. As some tools are better with this edge or this one, it depends. Rudder is here to ensure that you have a baseline of your systems. So you define a target of your configuration and you stick to it. So it's really about consistent definition. So if there is many movements, it's deploying things because it's making some instability in your systems. So it's more about continuous deployment tool that you need, instead of things like configuration management tools such as Rudder is more here to ensure basis, very stable, very sure, very reliable systems. So if you are just asking where I can put Rudder in my ecosystems, this is a solution for you to understand. Just a little words about architecture. So it's an agent-based solution. So we've got agent installed on your machines, and it's always in the same flow. So nodes are coming to the server. So they are always going to this way, and it's not a push, it's a pull systems. So it's very robust for the network. You can have weeks of non-network. It's not a problem. It's not a big issue. It's gonna cache on the system, and after when it come back, it uploads anything on the Rudder root server, so you get back all your compliance reports. Users and application can access to the API directly, but also you can use CLI and Web UI. This is something that is very different from the other tool, as we have a complete Web UI that could be used to deploy your configuration. So you can ensure that all your teams can use Rudder even if they don't know how to code. But at the end, it will generate a single configuration file that will be used by your nodes to download with. So this is very useful. You can access by the 3 different possibilities, and at the end is the same. Because it's an introduction, sorry, I'm a little bit speedy and I'm not going too deep, but you can ask how many questions you want. I'm here all day long and tomorrow also, so feel free to ask. I don't spend too much time also on it because we can spend a lot of time, but you can see Nicholas talk tomorrow at 4:30 and the DevOps rooms, because he will go deeply into this concept about observability and how we manage observability in Rudder. Basically, this is just to tell that we keep track of anything from external event or internal event that define the configuration. Each one made a change request at the end. So we can make a lot of things on it. Firstly, we can historize the compliance. Even the compliance is a configuration file, and even it's applied to a system. So we can track everything like that. After, there is the configuration creation. And so the same. We track anything, and because we already know what will be applied, we can also have expected reports. And when the agent will run something, we can compare 2 reports. So we have 3 times comparison of the compliancy and what expected compliancy we should have. So we can spot anything that is abnormal. And this is really better for an observability systems and to find the causality and the root cause of your incident. So Rudder is for efficiency because it's an automation systems also, but I will not go too deeply in that. It's by default. When you do something for 1 machine, it's pretty much the same times for 1,000 machines. We have dynamic groups that help a lot because you're just trying to find the criteria, such as my DMZ web servers. So it's in the regex of this host name, such as DMZ / so something, or because you know that is in this or this subnetwork, or and because it's a web server, you know there is Apache or Nginx or 2IaaS servers, doesn't matter. And so it's dynamic groups. So when you have the new node in Rudder, it will be calculate automatic which groups it needs to be in. So you win a lot of time on it, on that. So it's platform agnostic, Windows, Linux, AIX systems. So you win also a lot of time. And there is something that is different from the other two also, is that we have an audit system. So because configuration management is about defining a target state and sticking to this target state. So at the first glance, it's like a deploying system. And after that, it's drifting assessment. So when there is any drift, so we lose a little bit of configuration, there is an auto remediation. But this is all tools do that. But before remediate the systems, we have an audit system, of course, because we are looking is it different, and if it's different, we correct that. So why we cannot just stop at audit systems? We do that. And so you can ask for a node, for a specific node, or for different configuration to say, I want this only in audit mode. So you can do better than a dry run. You just deploy it at audit mode and just watch the compliancy of your systems. And after, you can correct it manually, for example, or you can enforce. And so it will be deploying the real configurations. So it helps a lot to different situations you can face to. Because it's a compliance design systems, you've got all the visibility of all your systems. So when you have a CISO, like a Chief Information Security Officer, that's asking you, my policy is applied, my security policy is well applied on all the systems. With Rudder, you can just show him, yeah, it is. I will continue a little bit faster because we don't have so much time for doing that. But because of auto-remediation, of course, you're sticking to your SLA. For example, if you have Apache that needs to be running on this port and there is any problem on this, Rudder will relaunch again Apache and stick to the configuration that is right and proper for a good working, a good operations. So, for example, if you have an Ansible job that making something annoying on a system, but the developer that making this job didn't know that it will be annoying for your systems and we broke anything, you can have Rudder help to stick to that. But this is, again, configuration management, classic stuff. So you got all the audit system, all is trust, and so we've got advanced reporting that could be helpful for auditing and helps a lot about that. So this is a basic workflow example of Rudder. And I think I will end of that because you can have a big pictures of what Rudder is. Imagine that you have security guys that wanted to ensure some policies on your DMZ. And so it will use Rudder with your web UI because it don't know how to use it differently. He don't have the skills to make it dev. So he use that and it will remediate automatically the root SSH restriction access. So, for example, no root access through SSH on your DMZ systems with a remediation, so enforce mode. So if there is anyone that making any change on the DMZ to put root access on again, it will cut the access automatically by 5 minutes by default and sticking to this policy. But ops can verify that each time. So ops are just accessing to the DMZ normally and making their own stuff also. So both teams can work together on the same tool and have the visibility on each other's. And sometimes maybe security will propose some directives, technique directives, to help ops to make security stuff on their systems. And contrary also, like Sec wanted something for the Apache and they don't know how to figure it, so the ops can help on that. But on the production, security don't have the right access because you don't want them to make anything on the production. This is ops only stuff. So, okay, no problem. There is only audit access on it, but ops continue to access normally, such as DMZ, because they are right everywhere. Dev can access to production, but sometimes you can have interns or external people or untrustable people. And you don't want them to access to configuration and put in production some changes without any acknowledgement or validations. So we have a plugin systems that allowing a validation workflow. So you can tell this group of people are not trust, and so I need a validation workflow before they're applying something in production. For example, in this example, it's ops that validating things. And external or maybe managers can use Rudder with simple dashboards to just verify that all is okay. For example, it could be your customers. If you're a service providers, you can show to your customers that, yes, all is okay, all the security stuff are okay. Sorry, you stick to anything. Even you can have a PDF of your reporting compliance, of your compliance reports, sorry. So you can tell, okay, was I compliant to my security stuff during December on my customer servers? So you can do that directly through Rudder. It could be very helpful also for this kind of scenario. Well, I think I will stop there. Maybe I have 3 or 4 minutes left for any questions, or maybe, I don't know if, no, we cannot, I think there is no network on the laptop right now, so I cannot make the demo right now, but can show you later if you want. Any question?
The network is working.
Oh yeah, on the, yeah, I think, I don't know if it's set it up, no. Okay, okay. Well, I will show you later a little demo for each one that wanted to. Maybe during a break or something like that. Yeah?
I want to ask, the root server or that can be run in class, or is
you talk about high availability. Is Rudder is available in high availability, or could be spread in multiple? Rudder root servers is based on PostgreSQL, LDAP, Apache. There is multiple systems that configure it. You can put a PostgreSQL apart of the Rudder root servers. There is high availability process that could be done, but by documentations. It's not available just out of the click, because it's not something very easy, as there is all certificate things between your nodes and your Rudder root server. But it's possible. But what you need to have in mind that one Rudder root servers, there is some tests up to 20,000 nodes managed by only one Rudder root servers. Basically, something with a 16 gigabyte servers is really sufficient for 1,000 nodes. So it's not very consuming for the Rudder root server, so you don't need to make so many Rudder root servers. I don't know if I answer you sufficiently. Okay. Any other question? Okay. So thank you. I will be available out of the room if you want to discuss before Alexis is making the next talk. I don't know if there is